You're the reason my son is dead." Those words didn't just fall out of Karen's mouth, they shattered against the pavement between us. And as much as it burns my chest to admit this, as much as it keeps me awake in the hollow hours of the night, a part of me knows he deserved what happened. Not because I'm heartless, but because some lessons are only taught in blood and twisted chrome. I didn't kill her son, his own entitlement did. And today, I'm finally ready to tell you how one auction, one bike, and one mother's obsession destroyed everything. It started with a coincidence. No anger, no revenge, just a boring Saturday afternoon under the buzzing fluorescent lights of a local auction house. I was just killing time, you know? Then she rolled onto the floor. A Harley-Davidson, 1 200cc of raw, polished American muscle. The chrome caught the light like it already knew it was about to ruin lives. I didn't need a bike, I hadn't even planned on bidding. But there's a specific kind of gravity some machines have, they pull at you. I raised my paddle. Sold to the guy in the third row. When I rode that beast into my neighborhood, the atmosphere shifted. You could feel it. Curtains twitched in the windows. People stopped walking their dogs. It was like I was parading a dragon down a quiet suburban street. The engine didn't roar, it purred. Low, controlled, respectful. I parked it in my driveway, wiped a smudge off the tank, and smiled. Then I heard the footsteps, rapid, heavy, aggressive. It was Billy, Karen's son. He had his mother's sharp, piercing eyes and that same air of "I own the sidewalk" entitlement, but Billy was sloppier, he was sweating. "Nice bike," he said, but his teeth were clenched so tight I thought they'd snap. "I was at the auction, you know, I'd been saving for months, that was my bike, I had the vision, I had the plan." I looked at him, genuinely surprised. "Sorry man, I outbid you by a heartbeat, that's just how auctions go." But that heartbeat, it cracked something inside of him. He started circling the Harley, his fingers hovering just inches from the paint. He asked questions that weren't really questions. "How fast does it go? You even know how to ride a real machine like this? What you pay too much?" I stayed polite. At the time, he was just a sore loser. I didn't realize I was looking at a warning sign. As he walked away, he didn't look disappointed. He looked calculating. 3 days later, the storm arrived. Karen didn't just walk across the street, she descended. She was the HOA president and she carried her clipboard like a shield and a sword. She didn't say hello. She pointed a manicured finger at my bike like it was leaking radioactive waste onto the asphalt. "This," she barked, "is a violation of community harmony. It's an aesthetic pollutant. It violates noise ordinances, safety regulations, and Section 4B of the neighborhood charter." I stared at her. "Karen, it's a registered street-legal vehicle. Can I see that charter?" She gave me a smile so thin it could have cut paper. "Presidents don't need to explain themselves to people who disrupt the peace. Have you ever felt that prickle on the back of your neck, like you're being watched?" I looked past her. There was Billy standing on their porch pretending to scroll through his phone, but he was hanging on every word. That's when it clicked. The auction, the glares, this wasn't about community harmony. This was a mother trying to bully a neighbor into giving her son what he couldn't win fairly. I told her firmly, "The bike is insured, it's inspected, it's legally parked. Good day, Karen." She didn't move, she leaned in, her voice dropping to a hiss. "Escalation is a choice, neighbor, fines, notices, hearings. I can make your life very loud." And she tried, oh how she tried. The harassment became a rhythm. Monday, a warning slip on my door for unauthorized machinery. Wednesday, an anonymous complaint filed saying I was revving the engine at 5:00 a.m. Problem was, I was out of town for work that morning. The bike hadn't even been touched. Then it got personal. One night I found the heavy-duty weather cover loosened, letting a thunderstorm soak the leather seat. Karen would see me outside and hint very broadly that all of this unpleasantness could vanish if I cooperated, and cooperate meant selling the bike, specifically selling it locally, to her son, at a fair price which was about half of what I paid. I said no every single time. But here's the thing about people like Karen, they think silence is weakness, they think patience is a white flag. She called an emergency HOA meeting. I sat in the back while she projected a slideshow of my Harley on the wall, calling it a predatory machine and a danger to our children. Neighbors I'd shared beers with looked at their shoes. They weren't nodding because they agreed, they were nodding because they were terrified of being her next target. Billy tried a different tactic. He'd casually walk by while I was working in the garage. "Accidents happen to bikes that sit unused, man," he'd say, flashing a smile that never reached his eyes. "Parts get old, wires get brittle, sure you don't want to offload it before something breaks?" I didn't argue, I just pointed to the small, blinking blue light above my garage door, a 4K security camera. Karen saw it too. She backed off the physical stuff, but the certified mail started arriving. Legal threats, intimidation. She wanted me tired, she wanted me isolated. What she didn't realize was that every move she made was just tightening a net she hadn't even seen yet. Saturday, 2 weeks after the meeting. It was a beautiful, deceptive morning. I spent an hour washing the Harley. I let the soap slide over the chrome, feeling the weight of the metal. It felt grounding, like I was polishing a trophy that Karen couldn't touch. I left it in the driveway to air dry, perfectly visible, and went inside to make some coffee. When I walked back out 20 minutes later, my heart hit the floor. The space where the bike should have been was empty, just a dry patch of concrete where the water had pooled. I didn't panic, not yet. I walked the block thinking maybe the HOA had finally called a rogue tow truck. But then I saw my neighbor, an older guy, usually too scared to talk. He whispered to me from behind his hedge. I saw him, Billy, he had a helmet, he was messing with the ignition. Another neighbor down the street poked her head out. "He tore off, honey, hard, like he didn't know how to shift," sounded like he was killing the engine. The calm cracked. I went inside and pulled up the CCTV footage. I watched Billy approach the bike. He didn't have keys, he had a kit. He crouched down, hands shaking, and hotwired it. He almost dropped all 800 pounds of steel when it finally fired up. He laughed. On the video, you can see him throw his head back and laugh. He sped off, wobbling, revving the engine into the red. He was riding power he didn't respect. He was riding a machine he hadn't earned. I marched to Karen's house. I didn't knock, I pounded. She opened the door with a smug look, like she'd been waiting for me to come crawling. "Is there a problem?" "Your son stole my motorcycle, Karen, call him now." She exploded. "How dare you? Billy is a dreamer, not a thief. He's probably just taking it for a safety check since you clearly don't care for it. You should be happy he's giving it the attention it deserves. You're heartless for denying him joy." Her phone cut her off. She looked at the screen. Her face didn't just go pale, it went gray. "Hello, yes, this is his mother. What, where?" She didn't look at me as she ran for her car. I followed her, not out of spite but because I knew. The intersection was 2 miles away. The sirens painted the trees red and blue. The Harley, my beautiful, powerful machine, was unrecognizable. It was twisted metal torn open as if it had been punished for existing. Billy was on a stretcher. The medics were moving with that frantic, silent urgency that tells you everything you need to know. Karen was screaming. It was a sound I'll never forget, the sound of entitlement meeting reality at 60 miles per hour. Billy didn't make it through the night. Inexperience multiplied by speed is a lethal equation. The doctors said the internal damage was catastrophic. By the next morning, the neighborhood was silent. By noon, Karen had decided that her grief needed a target, and that target was me. She filed a lawsuit before the funeral was even over. She claimed I tempted her son. That owning a high-powered machine in the vicinity of a young, impressionable man was a provocation. She used her HOA letters as evidence that I was a negligent owner. But the court doesn't care about HOA letters. The judge watched the CCTV footage. He saw Billy with the wires, he saw the theft, he saw the reckless speed. Then Billy's past came out: unpaid fines, prior vehicle thefts, a history of reckless behavior Karen had spent years covering up. The case didn't just fail, it collapsed. Karen wasn't jailed, but she was destroyed. The court stripped her of her authority. She was forced to pay massive civil penalties and damages, but the real punishment was the silence. The neighbors stopped looking away when she walked by. They looked at her. They saw the mother who bullied a man into a situation that cost her son his life. I didn't celebrate. There's no joy in a graveyard. I sold the wreckage for scrap and I never bought another bike. What I have now is something Karen could never give me: peace. She's still there in that big house, but she's smaller now. The noise is gone, the intimidation is dead. Some nights I still hear that engine in my head. I wonder if things would be different if I'd never raised my paddle at that auction. But then I remember, I didn't make the choice to steal. I didn't make the choice to ride without a helmet. I didn't make the choice to live above the law. Grief doesn't rewrite the truth. This wasn't revenge, it was just consequence arriving right on schedule. Karen thought she could control the neighborhood, but she couldn't control the laws of physics. Do you think she got what she deserved, or did the punishment outweigh the crime? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this story powerful, hit that like button and subscribe to Prodigy Tales for more. It helps us keep bringing these stories to life. Until next time, stay safe out there.